Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Thursday, the 26th of March. So, looking at the euro dollar first in this Morning Outlook, and well, we can see the euro's had another push up this morning. As suspected a couple of days ago, whether we'd see a bit of a retrace here where we are, and it's continuing at this stage. How much for? Well, could push through, I guess, and run back to where it was running previously. I've looked at a lot of these markets and sort of looked about what are they doing as we ran into the situation that we're sitting in at the moment with these sort of lockdowns, etc. And we were pretty flat on the euro overall, and it was sitting in this sort of range between 10 was it? It's a bit lower than that, wasn't it? It was just below where it is at the moment, actually, about 109 area roughly. To about 120, so or 112, I should say, in terms here. So it's quite a tight old range. It's getting back into that range. We'll see what happens, but certainly got potential, pushing up quite well at the moment. But as ever with these early morning shifts, sometimes they find it difficult to hold through. Now it is already into its daily R1 here. It's got the monthly pivot above there, which it's looking like it wants to head back to. There we go. So it looks like it just wants to head back to that. Now with that monthly pivot, we've got the daily 21 as well. So that could be a point where it finds a bit of resistance and has a bit of correction. So that would be what I'd be looking for potentially for any reversals in that area. We'll see how it gets on there, but for now it's looking bullish, higher lows, higher highs through this market on the euro. The pound is a bit of a different case. Yesterday we managed to get a decent short out of it, then went even further, but you look at it today and it rallied later. Excuse me, and is pushing up at the moment. So the pound did a bit of a recovery there. I did wonder yesterday whether the pound would continue, but as I say, it pulled back a lot further than I expected it to. It came back where we expected it to, hit our targets, but then went on, pushed on way beyond that level. So we'll see where we are. That was the line in the sand when I was looking at it yesterday, but we'd got in a bit earlier. But anyway, where to today? Well, again, it's one of these that's sort of pushed up a little bit early, and I'll see, and it runs into its R1 there. Yesterday's highs, if it's given me reversals, which I assume it is, I'll be looking at a counter trade maybe in the short term, but the trends are long, and it may be that you wait for those counter moves and look for getting long into those. So like 60-21s and things like this. It's 60-21 at the moment, it's quite a long way away. 68 may do, but the pound is quite choppy, as you can see here. It's been quite choppy. It picked up, as I said, later in the afternoon there, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock time. It really started moving up there, but it's chopped through largely through the Asian session. We'll see how it goes this morning, but I'm quite open to counter trading this at times. Some of the nicer moves are coming from that. Right, dollar yen. Dollar yen is an odd one. Yesterday I was looking at it, it's strengthening now, the yen against the dollar, but yesterday I was very wary of it, and I'll put this trend on to look at where it was. Where was the trend before the current situation, the virus situation? And well, it was a rising sort of high lows, high highs pushing through, and we've really effectively just moved into that range. So I'd be watching for this carefully. Maybe the more pumping of liquidity, the US buying other assets, etc., may see this roll over a little bit more. We'll see. It's still got its weekly pivot to target if it was to roll over there now. Struggled yesterday trying to just push where everything else was doing okay. The yen was doing quite the opposite, and it's just really quite slow and sluggish at times. But today already, well, since it started to roll properly, maybe about 3 o'clock yesterday, actually, funny enough, it started rolling better, but it's rolled right the way through the Asian session there. I wouldn't be looking to try and catch the knife here. It has got, well, probably on RSI, got a bit no divergence at all. Leave that one alone. Goodness. Maybe it's got further downside to happen there for now. Okay, that's the yen. Aussie dollar. Well, I expect this was going to be up nicely, but no. What's gone on there then? Yesterday ended up on a closing bar, and well, excuse me, it's pushing up a little bit from here. Maybe it's got a bit more potential this morning to push back up towards yesterday's highs there. Let's just come back to 60-minute here, and there we go. So pushing back just into its daily pivot at this stage. If the other markets are pushing up and it can continue, or even if they're not, maybe the Aussie will do its own thing and run back towards its R1 there. So finding support off the weekly pivot earlier on. Maybe just check that sort of as we're running just past 8 o'clock, whether this resistance will hold or not. If it doesn't and it breaks through that daily pivot, well, as I say, R1 may be on, maybe even more. But it is quite slow at times, the Aussie. We're not getting the same sort of on a daily basis here. We're not getting the same sort of average true range as the others. It's still 160 pips, so it's not mean, but not as juicy as some of the others. And looking at it from a daily point of view, it's maybe not the best, but we'll see. Canadian dollar. Yesterday benefited, I say benefited, but did pretty well there yesterday and held on to the Canadian dollar against the US dollar here. It's pushed right the way back down again, and lower highs not quite confirmed on the sort of bigger picture here on the 4 hourlies, but certainly on the shorter time frames. I suppose they have on the 4 hourlies. I can see it on the 4 hourlies. So lower highs just being confirmed in there, and it's a bit clearer on this hourly here really. Potentially any lows back into yesterday's lows there could be still diverging on this MACD here, so be a bit wary. I'm very wary about the Canadian dollar as a whole, but it may be just seeing a more of a correction. Again, with a lot of these markets, if you look at where they were beforehand, and well, the Canadian dollar wasn't doing too bad relative to where it is at the moment, so it's really if it was to get back somewhere into that sort of zone, it's got a decent old distance to be working its way back. Of course, what could help that if oil situation was sorted out somewhat and the Saudis etc. agree to do something there. Looking at oil briefly then, just from a daily point of view, and it's still not really doing too much here, still down at that $23 a barrel. Certainly must be creating quite a bit of pain elsewhere. And demand, of course, it's not just the Saudis and the Russian sort of production wars with each other. There is this situation with lack of demand. No one's working, no fuel, no nothing, so it just cuts demand down there. So that's that situation. If you hadn't heard, I just had that actually on gold. There are liquidity problems. You might find that your platform's going all over the shop, or not even allowing you to trade gold or silver at the moment. But because they've closed the mines down, as I said yesterday, something they haven't done before, we're seeing some real strange sort of things there with gold. And you're looking at $10 spreads on even my broker is down to 6 at time, or around about 6 at times. So quite some big spreads kicking there, and probably best avoided whilst it's like this. Bigger picture, I think it will continue pushing up potentially if this continues, but not if the liquidity problems are continuing. They'll close it down. And finally, S&P. So I thought I'd just do that as well. Sorry, covered a few extra bits this morning. Just big picture here. Yesterday couldn't hold on in the afternoon there, and the rest of the session couldn't hold on to gains, and it's sort of kicked back a little bit this morning. Maybe it's got more downside, we'll see. But the bigger picture here with the high lows, high highs, since I've mentioned all these measures, it has been largely positive on the S&Ps there, on some of the equity markets. But as I say, softened through from sort of 7 o'clock yesterday evening UK time, and through the Asian session a bit soft at the moment, but it hasn't broken the lows yet. It hasn't really put too much reversal in overall. Okay, there was a few reversal bars in there or whatever else, but as they say, one swallow doesn't make a summer, or something along those lines. Anyway, on that note, probably incorrectly quoted, I wish you a great day. Stay safe out there. Bye for now.